Let us do a demo financial plan for you on the assumption that you want to build a middle-class Cameroonian family made up of father, mother, and 3 children. Okay, you may want to do this with me, or you may want to just listen. The important thing is to get the idea. It's not the mathematics that is important here. So I've prepared a chart here that has your expenditure items, the monthly rates, the annual rates, and a 30-year total. So this plan is for somebody who is starting at the age of 25 to have a 30-year productive life, retire at 55, and then let's say live for another 30 years and die at the age of 85. Okay, those are very loose figures, but again, like I said, get the message, not the numbers. So again, you are building a middle-class Cameroonian family starting from the age of 25 to work for 30 years and retire at 55, and you're hoping that in your retirement you will live for another 30 years. So this is a plan for your life from the age of 25 to the age of 85. Let us look at what these years mean in terms of cash. So I have a table in front of me that I prepared based on my personal experience working and living and raising a family in Cameroon, and of course the experience of the people around me. Understand that living costs vary from town to town, living costs vary from person to person, and so these figures are very, generalized figures, but I've preferred to be very conservative with them. That is, they are at the low end. At the end of the day, the figure we will get here, the figures we will get, consider that you can only add. It's difficult to subtract and still call yourself a middle class person. You will understand this as we go along. So let's say you live in a 2-bedroom family apartment of 60,000 francs a month. Rent will cost you 720,000 francs a year. For a 20-year period, that will amount to 14,400,000 francs. So we are assuming that you will pay rent for 20 years, and maybe by the age of 45, you would have built your own family house. Okay. Now, what will it cost you to build that house? A plot of land and the house itself, let us evaluate it at 15 million francs. Next, food. If you spend 50,000 francs to feed your family every month, that will be 600,000 francs a year and 18 million francs over a 30-year period. Let us assume that you spend just 10,000 francs on healthcare a month. That will amount to 120,000 francs a year, and that will be 3.6 million francs in 30 years. Education. I have decided to break down education into 3 categories: nursery and primary education, secondary education, and university education. So if you send your 3 kids to a private nursery and primary school, so nursery and primary, total of 8 years, if you spend 120,000 francs per kid per year, that will amount to a total of 2,880,000 francs for primary education for your 3 kids. If you send your children to a good government secondary school from Form 1 to high school, 7 years, and you spend just 120,000 francs a year for books and fees, that will amount to 2,520,000 francs secondary education for those 3 kids. Now, at the level of university, the child can either be in a public university. If it's away from where you live, then that child will have to be renting. It could also be a private higher institute where the fees are higher. But let's assume that you spend 1.2 million francs a year per child in university. The total will come up to 10,800,000 francs. Now, what you spend on clothes and body hygiene, that is body lotion, toilet paper, soap, and all those other items that you categorize as clothes and body hygiene. If the whole family spends 30,000 francs on these things per month, that will be 360,000 a year, and over a 30-year period, that would have consumed 10,800,000 francs. Transportation, you would definitely start off without a car, and you'll be spending money on taxi, and eventually when you buy a car, the transportation will now go in as fuel and car expenses. So let's create an allowance of 20,000 francs per month for transportation. That will amount to 240,000 francs a year, and over a 30-year period, that will be 7,200,000 francs. Then if you eventually buy a car, let's say a small, nice family car for 3 million francs. Okay. Communication will include your airtime, your internet data, and so on. Let's say 10,000 francs a month. That will be 120,000 francs a year, and over a 30-year period, you would have spent 3,600,000 francs on communication. Utilities like water, electricity, cable bills, and so on. If you spend 12,000 francs a month on those, that will be 144,000 francs a year, and over a 30-year period, that will be 4,320,000 francs. Personal entertainment, well, if I say I drink a beer a day, how much will I spend a month on entertainment? Let's just say 20,000 francs for entertainment, for the whole family, of course. That would be 240,000 francs a year, and over a 30-year period, entertainment alone would have taken 7,200,000 francs. Now, of course, if you are someone who goes to church, you know, all the costs associated with church, offertory, tithes, Thanksgiving, you know, special collections, and so on. Assume that the whole family spends 5,000 francs per month on church-related duties. That will be 60,000 francs a year, and over a 30-year period, that will be 1,800,000 francs. As a member of the community, there are certain functions that you participate in, and maybe during fundraising activities or your village dues and so on. Let's say you spend just 50,000 francs a year on that. Over a 30-year period, you will spend 1,500,000 francs on community-related activities. Finally, how much do you spend on your extended family every month? Well, I have put 25,000 francs here, but you and I know that you need to be very crafty, or let's say very poor, to spend 25,000 francs or less on your extended family per month. So let's maintain that conservative figure of 25,000. That will be 300,000 a year, and over a 30-year period, you would have spent 9 million francs on your extended family. Now, we know that there is something called currency devaluation. We know that there's something called annual inflation rate, and there are, of course, also miscellaneous things that I haven't included in my list that are part and parcel of your life. So far, our 30-year budget has given us the sum of 115,620,000 francs. So if we add to this figure 10% to cover for inflation, devaluation, and miscellaneous, then we will come up to 11 million. How much? Yes, that 10% will be excuse me, Okay, that 10% would be 11,562,000. Now, you retire at the age of 55, okay? And we assume that in your retirement period, your kids are all grown up, they have left home. Some of those expenses that were related to the size of the family, they have cut down, and you're now living in your retirement age on 1/3 of your previous cost of living when you were in your active age, right? So that brings us to 38,540,000 francs over the 30-year period of your retirement period. Okay, so the net financial worth of a middle class person from the age of 25 to the age of 85 is 165,722,000 francs. Get that again. From the age of 25 to the age of 55, your living expenses is 115,620,000 plus 10%, which is 11,562,000 to cover for inflation, miscellaneous, and devaluation. And then from the age of 55 to 85, when you're on retirement and living on 1/3 of your previous living standard, that will be an additional 38,540,000. Therefore, if you have to do an objective but conservative budget for your life from the age of 25 to the age of 85, what we are saying is that will amount to 165,722,000 francs. When I say conservative, what I mean is that there are people whose current rent is 75,000 francs, not 60,000. There are people whose children are in National Polytechnic Bamenda, where fees is 300,000 francs plus. There are people whose kids are in the Catholic University in Boya, who had fees is 1 million francs plus, and so on. So conservative means that we are looking at the person who is really not a big spender. In fact, the house of the average medical doctor will not be a 10 million francs house, right? So if you consider this, then you realize that 165.7 million is the budget for an average person, which you can say lower middle class. Because those who are in the upper middle class, this figure can actually double. But like I said, our interest is not on the figures. Our interest is for you to get the message. Now, if you divide this figure by the 30 years of active life, it means that you need to be earning 5,524,000 francs a year, which boils down to 460,000 francs a month. I mean, right now. So between now, if you're starting at the age of 25 to retire at the age of 55, you need a plan by which you'll be earning 460,000 francs a month. If you have already gone past the 25-year mark, let's target 30. Let's say you work from 30 to 60. It's the same thing. Create that block of 30 years, either 25 to 55 or 30 to 60. And we know that, of course, depending on your qualification, the retirement age also varies from 55 to 60. So the important thing is you're working for 30 years or less. But here is a picture. Do you have a plan that guarantees you a monthly income of 460,000 francs, over a 30-year period? If you look at the data about Cameroon, you realize that the minimum wage prescribed by the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is currently at 435,240 francs per year. What we are saying is that the target monthly income we are looking at for you to achieve your financial goal is actually higher than the current minimum yearly wage in Cameroon. Isn't that crazy? Now, public information will also tell you that Cameroon has a low unemployment rate of 3.4%. But you and I know that that is a lie, because more than 80% of Cameroonians are involved in the informal sector. So, they're riding bikes, they're running call boxes, they have hairdressing salons and so on. And another great chunk are working in the private sector. The private sector employees and the informal sector employees all put together, the average income for these people is not up to 100,000 francs a month. So the real picture of Cameroon is not what you see on the internet when you Google salaries and employment rates about Cameroon. So the hard reality we are living in is that for you to live a decent middle class life, you need an income of 460,000 francs a month. More than 80% of the people watching this video do not have jobs that give them 480,000 francs a month. And so we come to the question, what is your plan? Can you tell me what your plan is? And this brings us to why I am doing what I'm doing now. I have been in personal development and leadership for 20 good years. I understand people, I know people's stories, I observe people, I see what people go through, I do what I can do to help people. But the bottom line in all personal development is that if you are not financially independent, you lack the opportunity to make choices. You lack the freedom to live the life you deserve. And so my goal for creating companies, my goal for spending time in financial education is to bring your attention to the fact that financial literacy is not a luxury, it is a must. You need to start taking financial issues as seriously as you take your relationship issues, as seriously as you take your religious issues, as seriously as you take your professional issues, because money is the fuel of the economy in which we live. And so if you don't master money, everything else will go wrong in your life.